Hey everyone, I'm Devin, your friendly neighborhood board gamer. This is Devin Talks Tabletop, the YouTube channel where the games are made up. What I say doesn't matter, and I'm going to keep talking anyways because that seems to be what I do. I wanted to talk to you today about Clank Legacy 2, Acquisitions Incorporated, Darkest Magic? I think I got that right. That is the game that I got to have a sneak peek at Gamma. And I can talk about it now because they've shared it, so now I can share it because they've shared it. So I can talk about it now because they've talked about it. I got to do a cooperative scenario, and I can talk about that because it's on the Kickstarter page now, so I can talk about that now. I get nervous sometimes. When you sign an NDA, it's like, when can I talk about it? And then people start talking about it, and you're like, can I talk about it yet? So I can talk about it now. I played a cooperative scenario that they custom printed and made and designed for us. It was very, very sweet. They catered the entire thing towards the four of us that were there playing. So it was me, Professor Meg, Grant Lyon from Grant's Game Rex, and from TikTok, if you're familiar with any of his stuff. He's a hilarious comedian. And then also Wes Todd from Quackalope. So I got to play with the three of them. The four of us played this cooperative scenario. And I've not played Clank Legacy 1. I know that Meg was playing with me. She's an avid fan of the first Clank Legacy. Absolutely adored it. I think she burned through it in like 2 weeks, maybe less than 2 weeks in terms of the amount of time it took her to play all of the different scenarios there. I have not played that. I've played both Clank, which I have, and then I've also played Clank Catacombs. I played both of those. I think that I may like original Clank more than Clank Catacombs, which I might be in the minority on that. But this just felt like a pure experience, and Clank Catacombs had a little bit going on that I don't know if it really got enough out of it for me. However, Clank Legacy 2, Acquisitions Incorporated, Darkest Magic, that's probably my favorite way of playing Clank now. And not just the cooperative scenario. We played a cooperative scenario, which is unique to me. Typically, my Clank experience has been competitive. And so to play a game in which we were actually working together, for the most part, I did enjoy that. I had a good time with that. And I'll explain that in a moment. But the thing I want to talk about first is that the cooperative way of playing and also the legacy way of playing felt in combination just as much as Pandemic Legacy as a game made Pandemic feel fully realized to me. It felt like the zenith of what Pandemic was. And it made it where once I played it, I was like, wow, this is like what I want my experience to be. If I ever play Pandemic, I want it to be this legacy format because it really kind of kicked everything up a notch and identified the best parts of Pandemic and turned it into a gripping experience that you learn over time and as the story evolves. And then Clank Legacy 2 feels like it's done the same thing. It's possible that the first Clank Legacy did this as well. I just don't have experience with that, and so I can't really speak to it. But the session that I had with the three of the other content creators was a blast. We played for like 2.5 hours or something, which again, part of it was we were being taught, and part of it was also late at night. So we were probably operating not at optimum capacity in terms of our brain cells. But it was a delightful time. I had a really good experience. I like the fact that you have your own unique characters. We had characters and they had their own agenda. Even though we were playing cooperatively, there were things that they wanted to pursue, that they wanted to explore as the evolution of their personal narrative. And you got to decide if you wanted to choose one particular option or if you wanted to hew closer to what your character might be interested in, which still helps the team, but maybe isn't the optimal choice. So sometimes there's this competing element of, it avoids the problem that a lot of cooperative games do, because some cooperative games lend themselves towards quarterbacking or towards some players trying to push what the other people are doing. But when you have your own personal agendas as a character, as a player, it does give you like a deep-seated reason to really choose your own way. Even if it is in the benefit of the group at large, you still are the ones kind of making the decision. And so you have these characters with their own stories that you're exploring. You have this cooperative environment, which is going to feel very familiar if you've played Clank. It's going to be familiar to you in terms of the map that you're building out. You still want to go get artifacts, and then you still want to escape so that the dragon doesn't, defeat you while you are on the way out the door. It still has those classic Clank elements at play. It's just there's some other considerations, including these bosses that you're fighting. And once again, this is something that's been shared, so I don't mind chatting about it. But it's these bosses that actually you have the market row that you are able to purchase from that is going to include some enemies or monsters that you can defeat in that row, and then other cards that you can build up your deck. If you're not familiar with Clank, it's a deck building game. Everybody starts with the same 10 cards, and then over the course of the game, you will slowly get different cards. You'll build out a unique deck that is different from the other characters around the table. And so that still exists. That still is there in its regular form, just as the Clank and the bag building and the health track that you have. All of that is the same, except the cards are very unique. There's cards that you will never see ever again, sometimes because they're destroyed, because this is a legacy game. There are cards that will be destroyed, sometimes before you ever get to use them. And it is painful to watch. It is painful to watch cards be ripped apart. It is sad, make Devin sad. But the other unique element is that even though there are these market cards that are there, sometimes from previous games in the same legacy experience, and also from other players that are buffing them up before you ever get them, there are cards that are upgradable. They have this little scratch-off system in which some cards will get stronger, whether they be the base cards that you start the game with. So maybe your base cards that you start every single game with, your tumbles, your burglar cards, your sidesteps, all of those can actually get better to where you start off the game with improved cards. But you can also get cards that get stronger based off of the upgrading. You have this 2-track system off to the side that is your reputation with Acquisitions Incorporated, and then also Hex Corp, which is the bad corporation. You have competing tracks of growth there, or should I say competing tracks where growth happens with Acquisitions Incorporated, and like negative, like chaos or disorder grows with the Hex Corp progression. So you don't want Hex Corp to progress, but it will. And you do want Acquisitions Incorporated to progress, hopefully at a faster rate than Hex Corp. And so you have these competing tracks here that will slowly grant you benefits and bonuses as you go up them, or further destabilize the state of the game if you're going up the bad track. And to progress up that, so you need these matched symbols, and some cards have those symbols, and some cards have spaces where you can sticker on those symbols. And so there's this process, especially in the cooperative scenarios, where you as a team are trying to empower the cards to make them better for whoever gains them. And then you're also trying to play cards in a particular manner, which will allow you to really gain like momentum as a team. And there are these particular cards that are actually able to enhance the cooperative experience. And I won't talk too much about them because I don't think I've actually seen them mentioned as heavily in the campaign yet. So I don't want to be the spoiler on that. But there is definitely a lot at play in these cooperative scenarios that really give you a good sense of how to play as a team, and also to play as a team in a little bit of a planning session. It is more cooperative in the sense that you're avoiding that quarterbacking. You have the ability to disclose the full way in which you can help the team, and then the team needs to come together and decide the best course of action. And so it is much more, like, there's some games that are like quasi-cooperative, and this really does like shy away from that. It is fully grounded in the ways in which you want to coordinate as a team. Now, I mean, you could play the scenario and just say, yeah, we might inadvertently help each other, but we're not worried about it and we're not making an effort to do so. But you can actually plan quite well as a team if you want to, which feels good. It feels like an interesting break in the experience. And I imagine if you're going through the game and you're playing it competitively, and then you enter into this unique break from that where you get to go up against a difficult boss. And they can be quite tough. Like the amount of symbols that you might need to deal with those bosses is substantial. So they're much more of a threat and a present moving threat, even though the market row stays stable and monsters that are there are present until they're, removed or defeated. The boss row that progresses through, past the market row into the point to where those things will activate and unleash, and you do not want that to happen because it's bad. And so the threat or the instinct to push against and fight that boss collaboratively is there for sure. And it makes it to where the decision space and the conversation at the table is something that you will not have experienced when you play Clank typically. So again, I haven't played Clank Legacy, so I'm jumping from regular Clank to Clank Legacy 2 right now in terms of the disparity of my feelings towards them as individual game experiences. I don't have that middle ground experience of having played the first Clank Legacy. But just having played base Clank and playing Clank Legacy 2, Acquisitions Incorporated, Darkest Magic, I can definitely see kind of like a seismic growth, a substantial push in a new direction for where this new game's at. So I like it a lot. I can leave links to the Kickstarter below in the description, but I just wanted to share how I felt about it because I was quite impressed. And let me know what your thoughts are. Have you played Clank Legacy, the first one? Are you interested in this new campaign? Have you played Clank at all? Is it something that you're familiar with? Curious where you guys are at. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll talk to you in the comments and see you next time. Bye.